Get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go, carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood.
I'll go no more. I am afraid to think what I have done.
Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt.
Father.
How could you do it? How could you embarrass me on my first night in front of all those people?
Embarrassed? Who was embarrassed? I was the one who had to sit there and watch my wife cavorting in the arms of another man.
It's a play, George. It's William Shakespeare.
It's nothing but an excuse. An excuse for bestial behavior and a chance to humiliate me in public. And with a man like Brian Martin. It's obvious you're having an affair.
Don't be ridiculous, George. We were acting.
God, what a fool I was. I should never have married you.
So you admit it was a mistake? Well, I agree. So why don't we end this misery now? Please, George, I want a divorce.
You think I'll give you a divorce? Absolutely not.
But why not?
Because I'm George Alfred St. Vincent Marsh, 4th Baron Edgware, that's why not. You are my wife. That is how you will remain!
No, case is solved. 1928, 9A to N. Poisons. That should be with the others over there.
1929, 1930.
Good morning, Mr. Poirot.
Bonjour, Miss Lemon. The last of the cases, they have arrived?
They're just bringing them in now, but in quite the wrong order. I'm afraid I'm going to have to overhaul the entire system. And the post has come.
Bon. Let us see what we have. Huh? What have we here? An invitation to an evening with Miss Carlotta Adams?
The actress.
I do not know this name.
I read about her in the papers. She's American, comedy actress. She does impersonations.
Impersonations? No. This is not for Poirot. Why they invite me even, I cannot imagine. We have a telegram. Bon Dieu, it is from the good Captain Hastings.
All the way from Argentina?
No, Miss Lemon. This is sent from Paris. He writes that he is in transit from Buenos Aires to London, and the aeroplane, it arrives in just 1 hour from now.
What about his wife?
Well, of course she will be with him. Come, Miss Lemon. Wait, the aeroplane, it must already be here. Thank you.
Don't worry, Mr. Poirot. He won't have passed through customs yet.
Excuse me.
The flight from Paris, sir.
Oui.
It landed about 20 minutes ago.
If you please, can you tell me if there was a passenger by the name of Captain Arthur Hastings?
One moment, sir.
Mr. Poirot, there he is now.
Hastings!
Poirot, my dear chap.
Ah, mon cher Hastings. It was beyond all my expectations to see you again so soon.
Welcome home, Captain Hastings.
Miss Lemon.
All these baggages?
Well, they're all mine.
Well, you intend, therefore, to remain here for some time?
Well, yes.
And Madame Hastings?
Well, everything was going fine until I made a foolish mistake. I invested in the Pampas to Fernandez Consolidated Railway.
Well, they weren't consolidated. They didn't have a railway. And there's a huge mountain range between the two places. I lost just about everything. Poor Bella stayed behind to sell the ranch. I've come over here to find somewhere for us to live. Not that she said a word against me. She's such a wonderful person. We're still as much in love as the day we met.
When, if I remember correctly, you thought her to be guilty of murder, n'est-ce pas?
Yes, well, since then, I think I've learned what makes women tick.
Ah, yes. The ticking of the women. It has always been a mystery to Poirot.
Where will you stay while you're in London, Captain Hastings?
Well, I'm booked into the Palace. Oh, the Piccadilly Palace Hotel. I'll start looking for a flat as soon as possible, if I can afford London prices.
Poor Captain Hastings. You need taking out of yourself. I know. Why don't you take him to that show?
Show?
Carlotta Adams. It's on tonight and everyone says she's most amusing. I'm sure you'll both enjoy it.
No, Miss Lemon, I'm sure it would be of no interest at all.
Well, actually, it might be just what the doctor ordered. I haven't any other plans.
Leave me alone, Brian. Just leave me alone. You invited me, do you remember? I thought we could still be friends. Your husband was right, you know. You are completely heartless. That's not fair. Jane, if we are going to be seen together in public, we may as well at least put on an act.
Who is that, Hastings?
That's Jane Wilkinson, the actress. What a beautiful woman, Poirot.
Yes, indeed. But also I am thinking the unhappy one.
Pour me a gin and tonic, Godfrey, and make it a large one. I've been in America, you know. I haven't had a drink in 14 years.
Yeah, you're really very good.
President Roosevelt is ending prohibition. I don't believe it. What's the man doing? He must be drunk.
Meanwhile, in Berlin, the new chancellor is prohibiting everything.
I say this to you today. I feel prohibit the artists. I feel prohibit the writers. If you don't agree with me, I will prohibit
you! Good grief! Someone has shot Herr Hitler. So, who do we call in?
Regarde. There is a dead body on the floor. I will now have to use my little dressers. But why has Monsieur Hitler been assassinated? Was it perhaps his politics? No. I think it was instead because of his ridiculous moustache.
Well, thank you, Poirot. I really enjoyed that. I must say, I thought those impressions were absolutely spot on.
You thought so, Hastings? For me, there was something of an exaggeration.
Mr. Poirot.
Madame?
My name is Jane Wilkinson, and I know this isn't really the place, but I noticed you were here, and I wonder... I very much need your help.
Jane! Hey, and the real Hercule Poirot. I didn't know you two were friends.
Carlotta.
Mademoiselle?
I'm really glad you came to show Mr. Poirot. It's just great for the publicity. Why don't you come over for a drink?
Well, I would be content to join you, mademoiselle.
Great! Look who I just found. Mr. Poirot, this is my very best friend in London, Penny Driver, who makes the most wonderful hats. How do you do, Mr. Poirot?
Mademoiselle.
You must know Brian Martin.
Monsieur Martin?
And this is Ronald Marsh.
I'm a theatrical producer, Mr. Poirot.
Monsieur Marsh?
Trying to sign on Carlotta. How did you enjoy the show?
Well, it was most educational.
I thought it was splendid.
Oh, well, please sit down, join us. Waiter, more champagne.
So, what were you doing sneaking off to see Mr. Poirot, Jane?
No, don't tell us. You were hiring him to help you bump off that ghastly husband of yours.
Don't be absurd, Carlotta.
Why not? Mr. Poirot solved lots of crimes. Committing one would be a cinch.
The bumping off of husbands is not one of my specialities, mademoiselle.
No, she's got a point, you know. Get rid of Lord Edgware and you'll be doing us all a favour.
Why does he have to be so horrible and unreasonable? I almost think I could kill him sometimes. But you shouldn't talk like that, Carlotta. You're embarrassing Mr. Poirot.
Well, you know, as Americans, we speak as we think.
Here's to you, Carlotta, darling. As deadly accurate as always.
The deadly Carlotta Adams.
Carlotta.
We didn't get much entertainment in Argentina. Horse shows and cattle shows, but no actual shows, if you know what I mean.
Mr. Poirot?
Madame?
I'm sorry. I couldn't talk to you back there, but I really do need your help.
It is a matter that concerns your husband, madame?
Well, he's not really my husband anymore. We live quite separate lives, but... Well, you see, he refuses to give me a divorce.
It is perhaps because he still has the feelings for you, madame.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think George has feelings for anyone. He's a queer man. His first wife ran away from him, you know. She died in complete poverty. And now, he enjoys tormenting me, Mr. Poirot.
What is it that you wish me to do, madame?
Could you talk to him for me? I know it sounds strange, but there really is no one else I can turn to. If you could just tell him that you'd met me and let him know what he's doing to me, maybe coming from you it might mean something.
Your husband, Lord Edgware...
He has a house at Regent Gate. He travels a lot, but he's in England at the moment, and I really have to go back. Will you do it for me, Mr. Poirot? It's killing me, this whole business. I don't know how much more I can bear.
I will visit your husband, madame, and see what I can do.
Thank you. Thank you. I was so glad when I saw you here tonight.
Tell me, Hastings, what is your opinion of this Jane Wilkinson?
Very attractive.
Yes, indeed. But it is the psychology that is of interest to Poirot.
Monsieur Poirot and Captain Hastings, my lord.
I can't give you a lot of time, Mr. Poirot. I'm leaving for Paris tomorrow morning. There's a painting I wish to acquire. Has the bank sent round those francs yet, Alton?
I don't believe so, my lord.
Well, ring them and tell them to get a move on.
Very well, my lord.
Now, in this note you sent me, you said you were acting for my wife.
That is so.
I thought you were something to do with crimes. What do you want with me?
Lady Edgware has asked me to approach you on the matter of your divorce.
Yes.
It was her suggestion that you and I should discuss it.
There's nothing to discuss.
So you refuse?
What are you talking about? I agreed to the divorce a month ago. Why are you wasting my time?
I do not understand.
It's very simple. When I last saw her, it's true I objected to the divorce. But then, thinking it over, I changed my mind.
So why haven't you told her?
I have told her. I wrote her a letter. I told her I'd decided she could start proceedings after all, and as far as I was concerned, the sooner the better.
It is very curious. I do not understand this at all.
Is this about money? Because if it is, you can tell her from me she's not getting any. Now, if you don't mind...
One further question, if you please, Lord Edgware. This letter that you wrote, to where was it sent?
To the stage door of the Regency Theatre. At the time, I had no other address.
And you posted it yourself?
I have a secretary to do that for me, Mr. Poirot. I'm a busy man. Too busy, in fact, to offer you any more of my time.
My lord.
You mean you've managed it? Just like that? Oh dear, Mr. Poirot, you're wonderful. You've saved my life.
It is most kind of you, madame, but in this instance, I have done nothing.
What do you mean?
Well, Lord Edgware told us that he wrote to you a month ago at the Regency Theatre agreeing to a divorce.
I never got any letter.
Tell me, madame, would there have been anyone in the theatre with access to your post?
Letters for me would be held at the stage door. Brian sometimes got them for me. But you're not saying someone stole it, are you?
No, it is a possibility, madame.
Well, what does it matter anyway? I was going completely mad, and then I met you, and somehow everything's come out all right. Alice? I was invited out tonight, but I said no. But with what you've told me, I feel a need to celebrate.
I am content with the results that you are lacking, madame.
Yes, Mum? Alice, I've decided to go out this evening after all. Could you call Lady Corner and let her know? Yes, Mum. And lay out something bright. The new Schiaparelli, you know, the pink satin. Mr. Poirot.
Madame.
I don't suppose you'd care to come with me tonight.
Alas, madame, but for me, tonight it is not possible.
Another time, perhaps.
Oui. I am at your service, madame.
I say, Poirot, you were going it a bit up there, weren't you?
But there is a quality in Lady Edgware that is most attractive. Do you not think, Hastings?
Oh, don't tell me you're falling for her.
No, Hastings. Poirot, he does not fall. He observes merely.
Well, I'd better be getting back to the hotel.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Hastings, the reason that I said I was occupied tonight, it is that I hope you will dine with me.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Poirot.
Come at 7:30, mon ami, and please, Hastings, I beg of you, do not be late.
Where are you going? Dressed up like a dog's dinner.
I'm going to the opera. Don Giovanni with the Dortheimers.
Ah, ghastly nouveau riche.
Father,
You could choose your friends with a little more discretion.
at least I have friends.
Miss Carroll? I'm working tonight and leaving early tomorrow, so try not to disturb me.
You called, sir?
Yes, I'd like to dictate a letter. Do you mind?
It'd be a pleasure, sir. So, how do I look?
You look lovely, Mum.
What a lovely evening. I can't believe everything's going my way.
That smells good, Mr. Poirot. What is it?
Une tarte de filet de bœuf à your oignon.
Oh. Is that another recipe from your aunt in Belgium?
No, Miss Lemon. This is an invention of my own. A dish that I discovered during my retirement. The pudding of the steak with the kidneys. Bon. The table, it is laid?
4 places. There's the first guest.
Ah.
Chief Inspector.
Very nice to see you again, Miss Lemon.
Come in.
Something smells good. Poirot cooking.
Steak and kidney pudding.
Ah. And this is just what you'll need. So. Captain Hastings, your taxi's ready.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me.
Room 174.
Certainly, Mrs. Van Dusen.
Thank you, Thompson. That is excellent.
Monty,
My dear,
the table. It's set for 13.
is it? Oh, yes. Well, that's Lady Edgware, isn't it?
Is it?
She cancelled, so I invited young Ross to join us. He accepted, now she says she's coming. So that makes 13.
But it's bad luck, isn't it?
I should say it's rather good luck. I've been wanting to meet her. She's very glamorous. Ah, our first guests, Helena.
Thank you, Miss Carroll.
Can I get you anything, sir?
What?
Well, I was going to have a drink, and I was wondering if you...
What are you talking about, woman? You're suggesting I'd want to have a drink with you.
Sir,
You're getting airs above your station, Miss Carroll. Maybe you should start looking for another job. Now get out.
There's nothing like marriage, that's the truth of it. The day I met Bella, it was as if I'd found myself. Ever since, I've been a completely different man.
A different man, yes. Could say the same about me, I suppose.
But you're happily married, Chief Inspector.
I don't know about that, Miss Lemon. You see, my Emily, she just doesn't understand my work. She never lets me talk about murder at the dinner table. And her tidying, it just gets worse and worse. Sometimes I wonder how I've managed to live with her these 27.5 years.
It's a shame you've never considered marriage, Mr. Poirot.
There were occasions, Miss Lemon, when I did have la tentation, the temptation. But now, alas, I think it is too late.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Poirot. If the right woman came along. Jane Wilkinson, for example.
Will you have some wine, Chief Inspector? A fine Pauillac?
No, thanks, Poirot. I'll stick to my stout. Donald Ross is a name that will shortly be known to everyone, just as soon as he finishes his play on the Great War of Troy.
I started right at the beginning, and I'm going all the way to the Trojan horse and beyond. It's going to be a bit like Sophocles, an epic, but for a modern 30s audience.
Lady Edgware, you have a telephone call, ma'am.
For me? Excuse me. Hello?
Right.
I have to see you.
You're Alton, aren't you? Is my husband in?
Yes, ma'am.
It's all right, Alton. I know the way.
Yes, ma'am.
Old-timers?
They're still in their seats.
Then let's go.
Right. Thank you very much, Poirot. Nice bit of steak and kidney, I must say.
Thank you, Chief Inspector.
It's funny, you know. Here we are, the four of us, all together again. But of course, there's one thing missing.
What's that?
The body. That's how we normally meet.
No, but it is true.
Oh, well, never mind, Poirot. As soon as word gets round your back, I'm sure one will turn up. Morning, Poirot. Captain Hastings.
Chief Inspector.
You got my message, then?
Yes, Chief Inspector, we came immediately.
Looks like we spoke too soon last night. Stabbed in the neck, around about 10 o'clock.
Have you discovered any money, Chief Inspector?
Money?
Well, when we were last here, Lord Edgware had commanded from his bank a sum of money in francs.
Oh, that's right. He was just about to go to Paris.
Well, we haven't found any money. But I'd be interested to know what the two of you are doing here. Had he asked for your help?
No, Chief Inspector. It was Lady Edgware who had asked for me to intercede on her behalf.
She wanted her husband to give her a divorce.
Ah, so that's the motive then, is it?
The motive, Chief Inspector?
Well, I already know it was her. I just want to find out why. Now then, Alton, I want you to tell my friends here exactly what you told me.
Yes, sir. I answered the door just after 9:30. I'd heard the clock sound the half hour. That's how I'm sure of the time. It was Lady Edgware. She said she wanted to see her husband and that she could find her own way.
You saw her enter the study?
No, sir, but as I left, she was approaching the door.
Was it you who discovered the body?
Yes, sir. This morning at 8, I entered the study to open the curtains. That's when I called the police.
Could you tell me, Monsieur Alton, what happened to the French francs your master demanded yesterday?
They came in the afternoon. I imagine he would have placed them in the safe.
Lord Edgware's solicitor will have a combination.
You have worked here for how long, Monsieur Alton?
1 month, sir.
And how many times have you met Lady Edgware?
Oh, only once, sir. But I could have sworn it was her.
It was her. I'd know her anywhere. And I saw her quite clearly. I had her speaking with Alton, and then she crossed the hall and went in through there.
Could you tell me, mademoiselle, what she was wearing?
She was wearing black, a black dress and lace sleeves, and a hat.
Mm-hmm. And this hat, it was also black?
Yes, very modern with a slanting brim.
I see. And after she went into the study?
Sorry?
You heard nothing, no sound of any kind?
No, I told you I went to bed.
Who else was in the house last night, Miss Carroll, apart from you and Alton?
Only Geraldine, Lord Edgware's daughter. She's in her room now.
I didn't love my father. I suppose I could lie to you, but why should I? I hated him. But if someone's gone and killed him, I'm glad. There you are.
I wonder if you could tell us your movements last night, Miss Marsh.
If you insist. I went to the opera. Don Giovanni at Covent Garden. I left at around 7 and I wasn't back until well after midnight. When I got home, I went straight to bed. Satisfied?
Did you enter the study of your father?
No. There was a light on under the door, but I didn't want to see him. I never wanted to see him.
I don't suppose there's anyone who can corroborate your story, is there?
You could talk to my cousin if you like. Ronald Marsh. He was at the opera. In fact, we had a drink together in the Inn. But why are you wasting your time interrogating me? Why aren't you talking to Jane?
Lady Edgware.
Well, she was here, wasn't she? Miss Carroll saw her and Alton. It seems to me you've got an open and shut case.
Murdered?
Oui, madame.
Well, I suppose I can't say I'm surprised. He wasn't a kind man, or a good one. But it's still horrible. Nobody deserves to die like that. But why are you here? Mr. Poirot, you can't think...
Can you tell us your movements last night, Lady Edgware?
I told you, I changed my mind. I was going to stay in, but in the end I went to that dinner in Holborn.
To the house of Sir Montague Connor?
Yes. There were at least a dozen people there, you can ask him. And there was a young writer, Donald Ross. He's writing a play about Troy. He was sitting opposite me.
Bon. If you please, madame, could you relate to the Chief Inspector your movements for the evening in its entirety?
Certainly. I left here at about 7, and I went first to the Piccadilly Palace Hotel.
Oh, that's where I'm staying. Sorry.
I had a meeting with an American lady, a Mrs. Van Dusen. She's written a play, not a very good one, and we talked about it for about 20 minutes. At 7:30 I left and took a cab to Holborn. I was at dinner with the Corners until after midnight, and then I came straight home.
Did you leave the table at any time?
Yes, once. I received a telephone call at about 9:30.
Who was that from?
That was the funny thing. A voice said, "Is that Lady Edgware?" And when I said it was, they laughed and rang off. I thought it must be some sort of a hoax.
And this voice, madame, it was of a man or a woman?
A woman, I think.
So you're telling me that apart from that one time, you never left the room?
That's right. Chief Inspector, I was the last person to want my husband dead. Not after what Mr. Poirot had told me. There was nothing to me anymore. Nothing.
So, Chief Inspector, now it all begins to make sense.
Not to me, it doesn't.
Oh, yes. Yesterday evening, Lady Edgware had intended to remain on her own in her apartment. She had already announced that she would not be attending the dinner at Holborn.
So, in other words, everyone knew she had no alibi.
Oui, c'est ça. But it was only at the last minute that she changed her mind, and so disrupted the plans of the true killer.
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that someone went round to Regent Gate pretending to be Lady Edgware?
It was, I believe, an attempt most deliberate to incriminate her, yes.
So it's lucky she went to that dinner after all.
Well, let's just be sure she did first.
Oh, yes. She was certainly at our little dinner party.
She was quite the life and soul of the evening, Monsieur Poirot.
She'd had some good news. Something to do with her divorce.
I think it was the fact that her husband had agreed to one.
You were present also, Monsieur Ross?
Yes, I was sitting opposite her.
Did she talk much about herself, Mr. Ross?
Well, to be honest, I was the one who did most of the talking.
Yes, but she was very cheerful. And with good reason. With the divorce agreed, I imagine she was looking forward to stepping out with... I think you know who.
No, monsieur, I do not know who.
The Duke of Merton.
He's one of the richest men in England. He has properties all over London. My wife would dearly love to have him to dinner.
And they have known each other for some time, Lady Edgware and the Duke?
No, I believe they met only recently.
It must have been love at first sight.
Is it true that Lady Edgware took a telephone call while she was here?
Yes. Now, when was it? About 9:30.
But she was only out of the room for a couple of minutes. I'm sure it wasn't any longer than that.
She was the first to leave the table.
I'm sorry, Lady Corner.
I mentioned it to my husband just before the guests arrived. There were 13 of us to dinner, and you know the old superstition.
Yes, the first person to leave the table was
Nobody believes that.
We had 13 to dinner, and she was the first to get up. It means she's going to die.
I've got the money. £500. Well, it's all here waiting for you. If you don't believe me, you only have to come round.
Ronald.
Jimmy, my dear.
So, how does it feel?
What?
To be the new Lord Edgware?
No more creditors for a start. It's splendid. Have you spoken to the police yet?
Yes. They were at the house this morning. A chief inspector and this weird little French detective.
Oh, that'll be Hercule Poirot. So he's on the case? Did you tell them where you were last night?
Yes, I said I was at the opera.
That's right.
Anyway, they weren't interested in me. It's Jane they want to see.
Poor Jane. She's starring in my new play, you know. Oh, she was. Of course, if they arrest her...
You can always recast.
Oh, look, Captain Hastings. There's a basement flat here on the Talgoth Road.
Oh.
Wonder who that can be.
Oh, it is perhaps Lady Edgware.
You think so?
Oh, with the Chief Inspector, as you say, Hastings, breathing down the neck, she will be in need, most assuredly, of my assistance.
You sound almost hopeful, Poirot.
Mr. Poirot!
Monsieur Martin.
I hope you don't mind my coming to see you, Mr. Poirot, but I was wondering, there's something I was hoping you'd take on for me.
If you please to sit, monsieur.
Well, the thing is, you see, I have a friend, a lady friend, and she's being followed.
And this lady friend of yours, she calls herself?
Well, I can't tell you her name, not yet. But I was with her the other day, and I actually saw the chap. He's an ugly-looking fella. He's clean-shaven, his glasses, oh, and he has a gold tooth.
You spoke to this man?
Oh, no, he was there 1 minute and gone the next. And I wish I could tell you more. But if the lady were to agree, do you think you could possibly look into it, or...?
Oui, bien sûr. I find the whole story most interesting.
That is a relief. You know, I was very pleased to run into you the other night, Mr. Poirot. Do you remember, with Jane Wilkinson?
Yes, indeed.
I was thinking about her, you know, and about her husband. It was just such an extraordinary thing for her to say, that she thought about killing him.
Do you think she had it in her to commit murder?
I'm sure of it. I know her, you see. I mean, she's terribly sweet on the surface. But she would kill as easily as drink her morning tea. Believe me.
Perhaps you are not aware, monsieur, that the husband of Lady Edgware, he was indeed murdered last night.
What? Murdered? You're not being serious.
It is not a subject about which I have the habit to joke, monsieur.
Oh, but that's it. Oh, my God. Well, what I was saying just now, I didn't mean...
And therefore, by necessity, this matter of yours, the man with the gold tooth.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, that will have to wait.
Why? You will speak nonetheless to this lady friend of yours, and if she wishes for me to investigate on her behalf, then...
Thank you very much, Mr. Poirot. I'm very grateful for your time.
Monsieur? Miss Lemon.
Mr. Poirot?
So tell me, Hastings, what is your opinion of all this?
Well, it seems strange that he comes to you for advice, and yet tells you so very little.
The same thought also had occurred to me.
I didn't know you knew Brian Martin, Mr. Poirot. He's a wonderful actor.
We met him at the Gaiety Theatre the other night, that cabaret, Carlotta Adams.
The Impressionist.
How could I have been so blind?
Mr. Poirot?
Miss Lemon, telephone to the Gaiety Theatre at once. Ask her the address of Mademoiselle Carlotta Adams. Tout suite. Every minute is of value.
What's the matter, Poirot? I don't understand.
Oh, Hastings. Do you not see? But I have been so slow. Imbecile!
How much, driver?
Hold on. Vite, vite, mon ami.
Yes?
Mademoiselle, you are the maidservant of Miss Carlotta Adams?
Yes.
We must speak most urgently to your mistress.
She's still in bed. She always gets up late when there's a performance.
So you have spoken with her today?
Well, no, she's asleep.
Quick, mademoiselle. We must see her.
Miss Adams! Miss Adams! It's locked.
You must call at once for the police, mademoiselle. Hastings. Mademoiselle.
We're too late.
Sounds like an overdose to me, Poirot. Veronal or something of the sort.
Oh, the sleeping draught.
Of course, it could have been accidental.
No, I think not.
So you're saying that Carlotta Adams went to Regent Gate disguised as Lady Edgware?
And then had to be silenced to make sure that the identity of her employer remained secret.
So the idea was to frame Lady Edgware from the very start?
Yes, Chief Inspector. To ensure that she was hanged for a murder she did not commit.
I don't see it, Poirot.
Then let me show you. The wig, Chief Inspector?
But that's the same color and the same style as...
Lady Edgware, yes. And now, Chief Inspector, excuse me, Hastings. The shoes designed to increase the height. The makeup of a theatrical variety. And these. Pince-nez. With the lenses, very strong. But these were not part of the disguise.
Yes, if there was a disguise. She was a performer, Poirot. All this could be part of her act. Veronal, just like I thought. C.A. from P. Sweet Dreams, November the 10th.
November? That's 7 months ago.
Well, there we are then. That proves she was taking the stuff.
Perhaps.
Let's talk to the maid.
If you please, Mademoiselle Alice, can you relate to us the movements of your mistress yesterday evening?
Well, she got in at about 6 o'clock. I don't know where she'd been.
Yes, go on.
She spent some time writing a letter. Then she got changed and left here at about 7 o'clock.
Did you know her destination?
She didn't say.
Did she go to the theatre?
Well, no, sir. There was no performance last night.
And how was she dressed, mademoiselle?
She was in black, sir, with a new hat.
With a brim that was slanting?
Yes. She only bought it last week. From her friend, Miss Driver.
Oh, Miss Penny Driver. We met her at the Gaiety Theatre.
Where?
She got back around midnight. She said she was very tired.
But not upset or distressed?
No, she seemed more pleased about something. Anyway, then she went straight to bed.
And this letter which you spoke?
It was to her sister, sir, Lucy Adams. She's over on a visit. Miss Carlotta took it with her when she left. She was going to post it, I suppose. Then she forgot. She was always doing that.
And where is this letter now?
It's gone, I'm afraid, sir. I posted it myself this morning. She left it on the table.
And once again, we are too late.
Do you really think that somebody paid Carlotta to imitate me? To go to the house dressed like me?
That is how it would appear, madame.
But she didn't kill my husband.
No. It was enough that she was seen there. No, somebody believed that you had the motive to be rid of Lord Edgware. They believed also that you would be at home on your own.
With no alibi. They wanted to see me hang.
Madame. Which is why I must ask you, who is it you think who would wish you ill?
You're asking who would want to see me dead. It's horrible to think there could be anyone. Do I really have to name names, Mr. Poirot?
If I am to protect you, oui.
Well, I suppose Geraldine never liked me. After all, her father left her mother to marry me, and you know her mother later died. It hasn't been easy for her.
Tell me, what of Monsieur Brian Martin?
Why do you mention him? We were lovers, Mr. Poirot, for a short while after I knew my marriage had fallen apart. I was so unhappy and I turned to him.
And then you met someone else?
That's always been my trouble. I fall in love too easily. First George, that was a horrible mistake. Then Brian, and now Percy.
The Duke of Merton.
But this time I know I've got it right. He really is so sweet and kind, and he needs someone to look after him. He and I plan to marry as soon as we can, and you'll be invited.
Ah, the grand wedding.
At Westminster, yes. That's what he's always wanted. I just fear all of this business will frighten him off. He so hates scandal. Mr. Poirot, will you talk to him? Will you tell him that everything's going to be all right?
Once again, you make of Poirot the ambassador?
He's coming to my apartment later. You could meet him there.
Where?
I knew I could trust you the moment I met you. You really are my guardian angel. I should be afraid, but I'm not. Not while you're here.
Do not be anxious, madame. All will be arranged. You have my word.
These are some of our latest models just in from Paris.
Oh, lovely. Dorothy, show Mrs. Lester the Rose Descartes model. Excuse me. What are you doing here?
It's not working out the way we thought it would.
What do you mean?
I've just seen Jane.
She hasn't been arrested.
She was in the park with Poirot. The way they were walking together, you could almost imagine. Anyway, she's got him lapping at her feet, so I think you can take it that she's more or less off the suspects list.
It's all right, Brian. It's early days. She's going to get what she deserves, and she's not going to hurt us again.
I'm sorry, Chief Inspector. Mr. Poirot went out first thing this morning.
No, don't tell me he's still got this bee in his bonnet about Lady Edgware that somebody deliberately set out to frame her for her husband's murder.
Well, it is still a possibility.
I don't know how, but it seems to me she's got him round her little finger. Maybe that's the sort of woman she is.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I've never thought of women as the manipulative sex. Certainly not been my experience.
Anyway, Chief Inspector, aren't you forgetting something? Lady Edgware was at dinner when the murder was being committed.
No, I haven't forgotten that, Miss Lemon. It looks like she's off the hook. However, you can drive from Holborn to Regent's Gate in 5 minutes. I've just done it myself. So if she had a car waiting outside...
But Donald Ross said she wasn't away from the table for more than a few minutes in total.
Well, maybe he lost track of the time.
Do you have no other suspects, Chief Inspector?
Oh, I've got plenty of suspects, Miss Lemon. Ronald Marsh, for example, Lord Edgware's nephew. Theatrical producer, heavily in debt. He needed the money, not to mention the title.
Well, there you are, then. Money's the oldest motive in the book.
And then there's Geraldine Marsh, the daughter, whose mother died after Lord Edgware abandoned her. She told us to our face how much she disliked her father.
So it could have been either of them.
Yes. But who was the real target? That's what beats me. Lord Edgware or Lady Edgware?
May I take your hat, sir?
Thank you, Alice. Jane, darling. Mr. Poirot, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Monsieur le Duc.
Jane has spoken a lot about you.
Would you like a drink, darling? Tea or coffee?
No, I can't stay long. This business, the death of Lord Edgware, really is the most terrible thing. That Jane should be involved. You know, I'm relying on you. We're both relying on you to sort it out. And if there's anything I can do to help...
You could perhaps tell to me how it was that the two of you met?
It was at the theatre.
Macbeth. A wonderful performance. Quite wonderful. Lord Edgware was there that night, and I saw how he behaved. He was a brute of a man. Despicable. I can't help but think that he deserved what he got. Although that's a terrible thing to say. I won't lie to you, Mr. Poirot. I'm glad at the way things worked out. And as soon as there's been a decent interval, Jane and I plan to be married. If she'll have me.
Of course I will.
I wish to you both much happiness.
I hope we'll see you at the cathedral, Mr. Poirot. I know how you've taken Jane's side, and I want you to know how much I appreciate it.
Monsieur, madame.
Alton, what are you doing?
What does it look like? Come on, Joyce. Why don't you come down off your high horse for once? The master's dead, and you and me will soon be for the hook.
Everything will continue as before. Mr. Ronald will move in. He's the new Lord Edgware now.
And will you fancy him as much as you did the old one?
I will not listen to this.
Have they arrested her yet, Lady Edgware?
Apparently the police don't believe it was her.
What?
They think there might have been quite a different motive for the murder.
Oh, hell.
Alton? Alton?
Has he said anything?
No, Captain Hastings. I think you'd better go and talk to him. I've never seen him like this.
Poirot? Are you all right?
Oui. Summer.
She really has rather got to you, hasn't she? You reach a certain age, you think romance has passed you by, and when it does finally hit you, it really bowls you over.
What is it of which you speak?
Or Jane Wilkinson.
Hastings. I think of the murder of Lord Edgware and the questions to which there remain no answers. I think of the letter written by Carlotta Adams to her sister and the pince nez that were discovered in her handbag, but absolutely not do I think of Jane Wilkinson.
Very well, if you say so.
Mr. Poirot! That was Chief Inspector Japp. There's been a development.
Mr. Trubshaw, the solicitor, unlocked it this morning. No one else had the combination. I felt I should call you straight away.
And the French francs, they are nowhere to be found.
How many francs are we talking about, Miss Carroll?
Well, a considerable amount. Lord Edgware was about to leave for Paris. He told the butler Alton to call the bank.
And where is Alton?
Well, that's why I called you, Chief Inspector. He seemed very agitated yesterday when I told him that you hadn't yet made an arrest. And this morning he's failed to appear for work. I've been to his room and it's empty. He's gone.
1 and 6, please, madam. Thank you, madam.
Yes? I'm here to see Carlotta.
I'm sorry.
Oh, she's expecting me. I'm Lucy Adams. I'm her sister.
Haven't you heard?
What?
Thank you, Hastings. Mademoiselle Driver.
I didn't know if I should call you, Mr. Poirot, but Lucy insisted when she heard you were on the case.
And where is she now, mademoiselle?
Upstairs. She had a terrible shock.
Well, perhaps she came to you because you were a friend of her sister.
Yes. Carlotta was one of my first customers. She bought all her hats here.
But I understand that you sold to her a hat with a brim that is slanting, or similar to this one.
Yes, she bought one very like it last week.
Mademoiselle, did you ever make to her a present? A little box for the sleeping draught.
I'm sorry.
You will see. C.A. from P. Sweet Dreams, November the 10th.
The C.A. is Carlotta. We wondered if the P might be Penny.
Well, it's not. I've never seen that before.
Merci. There is only one other question I wish to ask you, mademoiselle. How well acquainted are you with Jane Wilkinson?
Jane, why do you want to know about her? There was a man I was very close to, and she took him away from me. And when she finished with him, she threw him over.
There's nothing good I can say about Jane Wilkinson. But I thought it was Lucy Adams you'd come to see, and if you don't mind, she's waiting upstairs.
It couldn't have been an overdose. Carlotta never took drugs. She hated them.
It's all right.
Mademoiselle, can you explain to me the reason for your visit to England?
I came to see Carlotta. She invited me. The show was doing well, and she was so full of hope. I wanted to see a bit of the country before I joined her in London.
Since your arrival in England, mademoiselle, have you received a letter from your sister?
Yes, I have it here. It arrived this morning.
You permit that we read this letter, mademoiselle?
Yes, of course.
Dear little sister, I'm sorry this is so scrappy, but things have been rather busy. The show is a success, notice is splendid, box office good.
The whole of the first page is about the show.
Oh yes, it continues here. I met Ronald Marsh the other night. He's a theatre producer, and he tried to persuade me to come in on one of his new shows. I don't know, though. He drinks quite heavily and has no money of his own, although it turns out he's the nephew of Lord Edgware, who sounds no beauty, I can tell you. Anyway, Ronald loved my review, and he asked me if I'd be interested in earning some money for a practical joke that would prove just how good I was. I laughed and said, how much? Lucy, darling, the answer fairly took my breath away. $2,000. After that, we laid our heads together and got down to details. I'll tell you how it went when you arrive in London. I can't wait to see you, little sister mine, yours...
Carlotta.
I don't understand. Why would Ronald Marsh pay Carlotta that sort of money? And where would he get it from? I mean, everyone knew he was virtually broke.
That is indeed the question. Mademoiselle, you will allow us to guard this letter for a little while?
Yes. If it will help Mr. Poirot.
Merci. Courage, mademoiselle. I will return this letter to you, and with it the truth concerning the death of your sister. You have the word of Poirot.
Thank you.
Well, this is it, Poirot. The proof of the pudding. It was Ronald Marsh all the time.
You no longer suspect Alton the butler?
No. He's obviously up to no good, but he's no killer. No, it's all here. Ronald Marsh hired Carlotta Adams to go to Regent Gate disguised as Lady Edgware. Later on, he killed Lord Edgware, making us think that she'd done it. And then, of course, Carlotta had to die to stop her talking.
Yeah, but of course, at the time of the first murder, Monsieur Ronald Marsh, he was at the opera.
According to Geraldine Marsh, yes. But there's something you don't know, Poirot. I was thinking about Ronald Marsh's so-called alibi, and then I had an idea.
Oh, I congratulate you, Chief Inspector.
Thank you. It occurred to me that Regent Gate is less than a mile away from Covent Garden. You get my drift?
You mean he could have left at an interval?
Yes, and been back in time for the next act.
Ah, yes. Now that, I believe, is the same technique that you used to demonstrate the possible guilt of Jane Wilkinson.
That's right. Now, I've been talking to quite a few of the taxi drivers in this area, and this time I came up trumps. Ronald Marsh and a young lady left Covent Garden between the second and the third act. The driver took them to Regent Gate and waited for them outside.
Good Lord. Where is Monsieur Marsh?
In here.
All right. Yes. I did go to the house during the interval. Talked to Geraldine.
And she was in the cab with you?
Yes. But she had nothing to do with it either.
Why did you return to the house?
I needed money. I met Geraldine at the opera, and bless her, she agreed to help.
She offered you financial assistance?
She had some pearls. She said I could pawn them. It would keep me afloat for a few more weeks.
And you went over to get them in the middle of the opera?
Needs must, Chief Inspector. It was urgent. She had a key, let herself in. I waited outside.
I don't suppose you saw anything while you were waiting outside?
No. Actually, there was something. Wait. Just as we got there, I thought I saw Brian come out.
Brian Martin?
It was dark, but it certainly looked like him. You can ask Geraldine. She saw him too. That was Brian.
Monsieur Marsh, when you and I first met, it was in the presence of Carlotta Adams, the performer. You said you were hoping to engage her in the theatre.
Yes?
Subsequently, you paid her the sum of $2,000.
What? What are you talking about?
Are you denying it?
Of course I am. Where would I have got money like that? And why should I pay her anything?
Mr. Marsh, we have it on record from Miss Adams herself that you paid her that sum.
Well, if that's what she said, then she was lying. I never paid her a bean. Now, if you don't mind, I should like to go home.
He's going nowhere.
Chief Inspector?
Not until I've spoken to Geraldine Marsh.
Sir?
Yes? Ah, it's Alton, the missing butler. He's been reported buying a ticket for Buenos Aires, would you believe? Flight leaving today.
That's the flight I took. The first leg leaves for Paris at 4 o'clock.
We've just got time to intercept him. Come on.
There he is!
Stay where you are, Alton.
Wait here.
We know you've got the money, Alton. You won't get away with it.
Come on, this way!
Give yourself up, Alton. You don't stand a chance.
After him! Hold him!
Bonjour, Hastings.
Morning, Poirot.
You had a telephone call earlier from Ronald Marsh, Mr. Poirot. He rang to invite you today to what he called a celebratory lunch.
Jack must have released him already.
Oui. Mademoiselle Geraldine must have corroborated his story.
And perhaps Alton did kill Lord Edgware after all.
No, Hastings, I think not.
Well, then who did?
5 questions, Hastings. That is all. 5. The answers to which will reveal to me the truth.
5 questions, Mr. Poirot.
Fire away.
We know that Lord Edgware changed his mind on the subject of divorce and that he wrote a letter to his wife to acquaint her of that fact.
Or you sent it to the theatre.
Oui, and it was indeed posted by Miss Carroll. But why was it that this letter was never received by Lady Edgware? To whose interest was it that this letter should not arrive?
What's the second question?
The telephone call that Lady Edgware received at the dinner at Holborn? Assurément, it was to make sure she was indeed there, but who has made this telephone call and why?
I can't help you there.
What's the third question, Mr. Poirot?
The third question, Miss Lemon, concerns the pince-nez that were discovered in the handbag of Carlotta Adams. Now, neither she nor Lady Edgware wore spectacles such as these. So what is their purpose, and to whom do they belong?
That's a good question.
Next we come to the letter written by Carlotta Adams to her sister. In it she states quite clearly that it was Ronald Marsh who paid her $2,000, but Monsieur Marsh, he denies this. And it is true that he had in his possession not such an amount.
So why are you saying Carlotta was lying?
No, but it is perhaps that she concealed the true identity of her employer.
What's the fifth question, Mr. Poirot?
Who is P? You remember the box given to Carlotta Adams?
To see A from P?
Oui. Who was it that gave to her this box? This I would like to know most dearly.
What was the first question again, Poirot?
Actually, I may be able to help you, Mr. Poirot. My file on London jewellers. Specialised piece like that should be easy enough to track down.
Then, Miss Lemon, this I entrust to you. Merci.
So you're going to this lunch then, Poirot? Ronald Marsh?
No, Hastings. I have work to do here in my apartment. No, you must be my eyes and my nose.
Ears?
Oui, to see and observe in my place.
Right. You can count on me.
Try Edison's, madam. On the right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Captain Hastings, do sit down.
Thank you.
Hello. Mr. Poirot couldn't make it then?
No, I'm afraid he has to work.
Captain Hastings, is it true about Alton?
Yes, I'm afraid he died trying to make a run for it. But the police don't think he was responsible for the death of Lord Edgware.
Well, I wish they'd find out whoever did it. This whole thing is driving us mad. It's suffocating us.
Don't worry. Mr. Poirot won't give up. I know he won't.
Well, that's right. You know, he's never failed yet.
I don't suppose you remember me, Captain Hastings. I'm Donald Ross. We met at Sir Montague's.
Yes, of course. You're a writer.
A great writer. I've just finished reading his first play, The Trojan Wars. It's going to be a smash. We're all here to celebrate freedom and independence. I suppose the toast ought to be to whoever did kill him. He or she did us all a great favour.
No.
Oh, come on, Jane. Can't say you weren't pleased to see him go.
No. But any one of us sitting at this table could have killed him. But I won't drink to that. I simply won't.
Yes, this is definitely my work. I recognise the inscription. It was commissioned only a few weeks ago.
Only a few weeks ago. But it's meant to be a souvenir of something that happened in November. That's 7 months.
Yes, I wondered about that too.
Can you tell me who ordered it?
Yes, it was a lady. Give me a moment. Ah, here. A Mrs. Van Dusen.
Van Dusen?
Yes, elderly lady, if I remember rightly. Dressed in black. With a fur cape. Grey hair, I think. Oh, yes. And she was wearing pince-nez.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy private lives as much as anyone. But no coward is simply a passing fashion. Light-hearted and instantly forgettable.
So where do your passions lie, Mr. Ross?
Well, at the moment I have to say I am fascinated by the judgment of Paris.
But Paris doesn't have any judgment at all when it comes to fashion. These days one has to look to Milan and New York.
I was referring to the judgment of the shepherd boy Paris. He gave the golden apple to Aphrodite and so sparked off the war with Troy.
Oh, that Paris. Why do we have to talk about theatre all of the time? Percy, you must be bored rigid.
I could never be bored with you.
Paris.
Mrs. Van Dusen. You are sure of this name, Miss Lemon?
Absolutely, Mr. Poirot.
Then this is the same lady that Jane Wilkinson met here at this hotel on the night that her husband was murdered.
Here we are, sir. Mrs. Van Dusen, room 174. She booked in for one night.
One night only?
Yes, sir. Actually, I do remember her now I think about it. An American lady, elderly. She wore,
Pince-nez.
Yes. I wouldn't remember her, only the maid said the bed wasn't slept in, which seemed odd at the time.
Oh, Poirot.
Ah, Hastings. How went the lunch?
Oh, it went off pretty well. They were all there. Brian Martin, Penny Driver, Jane Wilkinson, and even the Duke of Merton. Oh, and that writer chap, Donald Ross, was there. He asked you to telephone him.
Come on.
Yes, he seemed puzzled by something. Gave me his card.
When was this, Hastings?
Half an hour ago.
And he asked me to telephone him in front of all those people?
Yes.
They have a telephone at the desk, Mr. Poirot.
May I use your telephone, please?
Of course, sir.
Merci.
This is Donald Ross. Ah, Mr. Poirot, thank you for calling. I didn't want to bother you, but there's something to me that seems a bit odd in connection with Lord Edgware's death. It was Paris that set me off. It suddenly got me thinking. Just a moment.
Stabbed in the neck, same as Lord Edgware.
And it actually happened while he was talking to you on the telephone.
Wait, but before he had time to explain to me what he wished to say.
This is all my fault, Poirot. If only I'd stayed with him.
Not at all, Hastings. The fate of Monsieur Donald Ross, it was settled the moment that he spoke my name.
Someone at that lunch must have overheard him, followed him back here, and then...
Yes, but which one of them was it? And why? I mean, this chap was just a writer, a nobody. How would he know anything about anything?
He managed to mention only the name of Paris.
Paris?
I think it must have triggered a memory which until then had remained hidden.
Wasn't Lord Edgware going to Paris? Didn't he say he was going to buy a painting?
Tell me, Hastings, at that luncheon, who was the first to leave?
Brian Martin, and Penny Driver, then Jane Wilkinson and the Duke of Merton. No, wait a minute. It was actually the other way round.
Sacre. Ah, Hastings. I have been so foolish, and yet it is so simple. The 5 questions?
Yes.
The answers, Hastings, they fall into place at last.
I'm afraid Lady Edgware isn't in, sir.
But it is not Lady Edgware I have come to see, Mademoiselle Alice. It is you. I have here a letter And it would be of great interest to me to know if you recognize the writing.
I'll just need to fetch my glasses.
You would permit me, mademoiselle?
Thank you, sir. No, sir, I don't know this writing. What made you think I would?
But, mademoiselle, I knew that with certainty you would not. And so, we return to where we began, huh? It was here during an evening of entertainment that I first met many of you who gather here again today. Little did I know that that very same night, a murder most ingenious, it was being planned.
Are you saying you know who killed him, Mr. Poirot? Was it one of us?
Each person here had the reason to wish the death of Lord Edgware. For Monsieur Ronald Marsh, it was a question of money. For Mademoiselle Geraldine, it was a chance to be rid of a father that she loathed. The Duke of Merton also knew that the death of Lord Edgware would allow him to marry the lady that he loved.
Well, I have no reason to kill him.
Au contraire, Monsieur Martin. It is my belief that you had the greatest reason of all. You were in love with Jane Wilkinson, were you not?
I don't really
It
see
wasn't
that.
love. It was infatuation. Brian feels nothing for her now.
And you believe that his feelings now are for you alone?
We're in love, yes. We have been since the day we met.
And yet Jane Wilkinson stole him from you. Ah, yes, mademoiselle. Even now you cannot speak her name without the anger. She is a woman you would be glad to see hanged. To murder Lord Edgware, and then to frame Jane Wilkinson for his death, that would be revenge indeed.
No, I never thought of that.
Yes, you did. Why else did you come to me with this cock and bull story about the man with the gold tooth?
What? It wasn't true?
Ah, Hastings, it was like something from the cinema. I saw that at once. But the real reason that you came to me, monsieur, that followed very soon.
Do you think she had it in her to commit murder?
No, I'm sure of it. I know her, you see. I mean, she's terribly sweet on the surface. But she would kill as easily as drink her morning tea. Believe me.
You came to me for to poison my mind against Jane Wilkinson. To impress upon me the fact that she was a killer. But you already knew that Lord Edgware, he was dead. And how did you know this, monsieur? Because you yourself had killed him the night before.
No, you've got it wrong.
Well, why must you lie to me? You were seen leaving the house. Wait. It was just before 10 o'clock that you were seen by Monsieur Ronald Marsh, who had returned from the opera with Mademoiselle Geraldine to retrieve a necklace of pearls.
That was Brian. No, you got it wrong. It wasn't me. Oh, for God's sake!
You deny that you lied to me?
No. All right, all that stuff about the gold tooth. You're right about that. I was trying to incriminate her.
What?
You're heartless, Jane. She is as cold as ice. I loved you. And you threw me over without so much as a second thought. Yes. I wanted to see her hang.
And in order to achieve that end, monsieur, you attempted to deceive Hercule Poirot.
But I didn't kill him. I never went near the house that night. I heard the news the next day. And that's when I had the idea. I must have been mad.
Yes, indeed. And for the attempt to deceive Hercule Poirot, you have now been punished.
What, you mean you know it wasn't me?
The person seen by Monsieur Ronald Marsh was, I think, the butler Alton, leaving with the French francs, and, well, there is a resemblance.
What, he was hooking it with the money?
Exactement, Chief Inspector. And I also believe that he discovered the body the night before and not the following morning, as he told to us. Well, he took the opportunity to steal the money and was leaving the house in order to place it somewhere safe.
He thought Lady Edgware would be arrested for the murder.
Précisément, Hastings. And it was only when it was discovered that Lady Edgware, she had the alibi parfait, that he panicked.
You mean he realized we'd be looking for another motive?
Oui. The theft of the money.
So you knew all along that it wasn't Brian, then?
Oui, mademoiselle. But Monsieur Martin was not alone in his dislike for Lady Edgware. You, Miss Carroll, when I asked you the identity of the woman you saw entering the hallway of Regent Gate?
It was her. I'd know her anywhere. And I saw her quite clearly.
But you were standing high up on the landing, mademoiselle.
It's all right, Alton, I know the way.
The person who entered the house that night was wearing a hat with a brim that was slanting. From where you were standing, it would have been impossible to see the face.
I saw her.
No, mademoiselle. You saw, I think, what you wished to see, huh? The woman who had wronged the man you had well served.
It's true. She never deserved him.
And it would have been impossible for Jane Wilkinson to have committed the murder. Because, as we now know, Jane Wilkinson changed her mind and attended the dinner at Holborn. But from the beginning, I have been perplexed by 5 questions. 1. What happened to the letter written by Lord Edgware informing his wife that he had agreed to the divorce? 2. Who is this letter P on the little gold medicine box? 3. Who made the telephone call to Jane Wilkinson at the dinner at Holborn? 4. How did a pair of pince-nez come to be discovered in the handbag of Carlotta Adams? And 5. Why did the letter of Carlotta Adams state quite clearly that it was Ronald Marsh who paid to her the sum of $2,000 when it was impossible he could have afforded that sum?
Do you have the answers?
Of course, Mr. Poirot has the answers. That's why you're here.
Merci beaucoup, Miss Lemon. So let us begin with the little gold medicine box. From the start, I felt that there was something strange, because the inscription inside referred to a date 7 months before.
But the jeweler told me the box was brand new.
Oui, c'est ça. You see, I do not believe that there existed this P, that there was no meeting in November. We are in the world of the theater. And this little gold box, it was used merely as a prop.
To make us think that Carlotta was taking Veronal.
Oui. But now let us turn our attention to the pince-nez. They were also found in the handbag of Carlotta Adams. But they were left there, I believe, by accident.
But who by?
By the woman who collected the little gold medicine box from the jewelry shop. This was the same woman who took a room for the night at the Piccadilly Palace Hotel. It was an American woman by the name of Mrs. Van Dusen.
Certainly, Mrs. Van Dusen.
I met her. She was a writer. She wanted me to have a look at her play.
No, no, madame, that was not Mrs. Van Dusen who you met, because Mrs. Van Dusen, she does not exist.
What? Then who was she?
Ah, well, that is indeed a question. You know, with the thick lenses, the pince-nez are disguised very simple. Huh? But with the wig that is grey and the cape of fur wrapped high.
Oh, she had me completely fooled. Are you saying she was part of all this?
Oh, yes. Yes, madame, Mrs. Van Dusen, yes, she was very much a part of this. She was the creation of a killer who was cunning and cold-blooded. Also, the creation of an actress formidable. Yes, madame. All is known to Hercule Poirot. The entire plan by which you did indeed murder your husband.
Wait a minute, what are you saying?
So I was right. It was her after all.
But Poirot, that's impossible. You said as much yourself.
Not impossible, mon ami. Let me explain to you how it occurred.
Thank you, Alice.
7 o'clock in the evening, Jane Wilkinson leaves her apartment for the Piccadilly Palace Hotel. On the way there, she makes a stop. For when she arrives, her appearance, it has changed. Now there is the grey wig, the pince-nez.
Room 174.
She takes her room using the identity of an elderly American woman. But the moment she is inside this room, she removes her disguise and awaits the arrival of a person she has arranged to meet there that very same night.
Carlotta, darling. It's wonderful to see you. So, are you sure about all this? Are you really game?
You bet I am. Tonight, I'm going to prove to you just how good I really am.
And now the moment for the second disguise. It has arrived. As arranged previously, the two women exchange their clothes.
There, what do you think?
It's amazing. You're me.
For tonight, Carlotta Adams is about to play the great practical joke. This evening, she will become Lady Edgware.
Could I have a taxi, please?
Certainly, Lady Edgware.
You know, all the time it had been so simple, huh? And yet still I did not see. Until a chance remark was made by my good friend and colleague, Captain Hastings. It was actually the other way round. Those were your very words, n'est-ce pas, mon ami?
Yes, but...
And suddenly, all became clear.
Just as soon as
Always I had assumed that Carlotta Adams had been paid to act the role of Jane Wilkinson, while the real Jane Wilkinson attended the dinner at Holborn. But actually, it was the other way around.
It was Carlotta who went to the dinner in Holborn.
That's impossible. Someone would have recognized her.
No, I do not think so, mademoiselle. There was the wig, the clothes, and Carlotta Adams was a performer most accomplished. The dining room was lit only by candlelight. And you must also remember that no one at the table had met the real Lady Edgware on more than one or two occasions. But it was still a risk most grave. It was essential that Lady Edgware should ascertain whether this deception had been a success. And it was for this reason that she made the telephone call to the dinner at Holborn.
It's gone like a dream. Nobody suspects a thing.
That's wonderful, darling. I knew you could do it. Bye. You're Alton, aren't you? Is my husband in?
Yes, ma'am.
The butler Alton had only been employed there for 1 month, so he hardly knew her. And if he did express his doubts, it would only be his word against hers. And so, having prepared her way, she strikes. But Carlotta Adams must not be allowed to relate her tale. So Lady Edgware arranged to meet her again in the room of the hotel. Perhaps they will have some wine to celebrate the success of this great practical joke. And their little gold medicine box, which was placed into her handbag and later found by us, will make us believe that Carlotta Adams was a woman always in the habit of using this drug. Lady Edgware learns all the details she must know if she is to pretend that she did indeed attend the dinner at Holborn.
I was sitting opposite this young playwright. Scottish,
His name was Donald Ross.
Carlotta Adams sips her wine.
On about this play of his.
1 hour later, when she has returned home, the veronal will have taken its effect.
It was all about the war at Troy.
You made 2 mistakes, madame. The pince-nez that you used for the disguise of Mrs. Van Dusen, you took from your maidservant Alice. In all of the exchanges of costume, madame, you left the pince-nez in the handbag of Carlotta Adams instead of your own.
Did I?
Yes, you did. But more serious was your encounter with the young writer, Monsieur Donald Ross.
I'm fascinated by the judgment of Paris.
But Paris doesn't have any judgment at all when it comes to fashion.
It was indeed a social gaffe to show such ignorance on the judgment of Paris. But only a few days earlier, he had explained to you his play, The War of Troy. It was inconceivable that a woman who had known then of which he spoke could be so ignorant now.
Paris.
So he saw through her. Malheureusement, Monsieur Donald Ross expressed his suspicions in the presence of Lady Edgware. And it was at once that she knew that he also had to be silenced.
So, it was her all along.
But wait a minute, Poirot. In that letter that Carlotta Adams wrote, she definitely said she'd been hired by a man.
Yes. Oh, yes, that was most cunning, that. Carlotta Adams did indeed leave the house with a letter, but she had neglected to post it. And in the exchange of handbags, it was discovered by Lady Edgware, who decided to use it for her own ends. Carlotta Adams wrote first of her meeting with Monsieur Ronald Marsh, and then of the person who gave to her the money. But what if there was between these 2 descriptions an entire page that was missing? A page removed by Lady Edgware.
A page missing? How do you know that?
Because as she was writing, mon ami, there was left an indentation on the 3rd page. Here are some words you can see from the page before, but these very same words, they do not appear on these pages that remain.
But the 3rd page begins with "he asked." She was writing about a man.
Oui. But you will notice, Hastings, that on the top of this 3rd page, there is a little tear. Now, always I had assumed that this was made by accident, but in fact it was done on purpose.
To change "she" into "he."
Oui. It was of Lady Edgware that Carlotta Adams was writing. And from Lady Edgware did she receive the money. Ah, madame. You are a woman most remarkable. Ah, parbleu! To pull over my eyes the cotton wool. The letter, the disguise. Et surtout, to send me to your husband, to turn me into a witness that you had no motive for murder. Ma foi! You made of me Hercule Poirot, your cat's paw!
But it's true, Mr. Poirot. There was no motive if she was going to get a divorce.
The divorce would have been of no use to her, Miss Lemon. Which is why she pretended never to have received a letter from her husband. Monsieur le Duc, you are of the religion Catholique, n'est-ce pas?
Yes, I am. How did you know?
Jane Wilkinson told me that you intended to get married at Westminster. And naturellement, I assumed that she meant the Abbey. But later, you invited me to the cathedral. Westminster Cathedral. Et voilà. It was then that I knew that you must be Catholic.
And he couldn't marry a divorced woman.
Ouais.
So that's why Lord Edgware had to die.
My God, Jane, tell me it isn't true.
I'm sorry, Percy. I really thought I'd get away with it, you know. I thought I had you, the great detective, round my little finger. I've always had that, you know. A power over men.
I wished only to protect you, madame. But I could not protect you from yourself.
Jane!
No, I'm not going to deny it, Percy. Why should I? After all,
I've actually enjoyed it. All of it.
Even being caught. I mean, does put me center stage. And who knows? Maybe they'll put me in Madame Tussauds.
Poirot, I came as soon as I got your message. What is it?
It is this, mon ami. It arrived for you today.
Oh. Oh, it's a cheque. Made out to me for... Good Lord.
From the Duke of Merton, I understand.
Well, yes, but...
After the arrest of Lady Edgware Hastings, the Duke, he made contact with me. For him, it was the lucky escape, huh? He felt he deserved, as he said, a reward most substantial.
But shouldn't this be made out to you?
Come, no, pardon tout, mon ami. It was you who provided the clue that was vital.
The other way round?
Précisément, Chief Inspector. And therefore it is to you, Hastings, that the reward rightfully belongs.
I thought we ought to celebrate.
It should be sufficient, mon ami, for you to purchase an apartment in London.
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Poirot. I saw an interesting investment opportunity in the financial pages this morning.
Oh, yes.
The Northern England Railway Corporation. They're building a new line from Liverpool to Carlisle.
Oh, yes, I read about that. They say you could double that cheque in a couple of weeks.
Do you really think so?
Absolument, mon ami. Of course, they will have to construct a bridge over 6 miles of water.
Yes, and then they've got to get across the Cumbrian Mountains.
Oh, the Scorful Pike's only 3,000 feet high.
You know, I think I'll put this in the bank.
Santé.
Santé.